So, are we ready to start? Yes, yeah, okay, cool, awesome. So, this will be a higher energy talk, okay? I don't know what you're used to, but it's like I love crazy stuff, so yeah. Let's start. So first, we're in a family room, okay? So let's become a family and let's meet each other. So please, if you can, tell the one next to you your name and your company, okay? So introduce yourself, be polite, okay? It's the polite thing to do. So. Come, it's okay. Yeah, awesome. Yeah. And yeah, introduce yourself to the new guy who came. Okay, cool. Great, awesome. Everybody now knows each other, one another. Probably you came in pairs, so you already know one another, so it doesn't matter. Okay. And I want to do another thing. So I like to warm up before it's an hour and a half session. It's long, right? So we need to be with high energy. So I would like to do this thing. So when my hand will be this high, I want you to clap very politely, okay? Very politely, really, really, really slow and quiet. And when I will go up here, this is the craziness level, right? So clap and yell as hard as you can, okay? So let's start. Very poetry night, right? Very polite, okay? We go. Awesome! Now we can begin our talk. Awesome. So we're talking about production-ready JavaScript with Grunt. Okay. So first of all, who am I? I'm Shai Reznik, okay? And I've been doing web development or front-end development for over 10 years now. I run the largest JavaScript meetup group in Israel, and I also co-organized the first ngconf in Israel, and we're now planning the second one. And I run another Google developer group in one of the cities in Israel, so this is me. Okay, I'm a consultant, which is awesome, okay? And so I work with over 20 enterprise and startup companies over the past 2.5 years. Mainly doing large-scale application. And I usually help them move from legacy technologies to Angular, most of the time. And Grunt, Yeoman, SAS, and other stuff like that. By the way, I forgot to ask in the beginning, how many JavaScript developers are here? Okay, half. Okay, and how many heard of Grunt? Okay, how many used it? Good, so this talk is for you guys. Okay, awesome. Okay. So this is an illustration of me consulting, okay? If you will hire me, this is how it usually look like, okay? And I founded HiRes.io, which is an online training school that teaches front-end development and architecture, but for people with a short attention span, okay? So check it out, it's really crazy. And a few weeks ago, I had the pleasure before that, my main hobby in life is doing improv, which is a combination of stand-up comedy and stage play acting, but improvised, okay? And a few years ago, and now, I had the pleasure to give a talk at ngconf, the largest Angular conference in the world, but it was more like a stand-up comedy talk, okay? Not really technical, roasting the stuff in Angular. And even if you aren't Angular developers, I'm really recommending you to see this talk. I'm sure you will laugh, okay? So check it out, ng went, okay? Cool. So what's on today's menu? What we are going to talk about today? We're going to discuss why actually building JavaScript, right? So why do you need to build it? It's just JavaScript. So we're going to get an overview of the build theory. Then we're going to talk about Grunt and other like tools. And we will see examples, and in the end, we'll have time for questions. But if you feel the urge to ask a question, don't be shy, don't be me, okay? Like yell something and I will stop, and it's okay. You can ask questions. We have like the whole day. We can relax and have a good time. Okay, so why building a JavaScript app? So what is a JavaScript app before? So I'm talking about client side, okay? I'm not talking about Node.js, server side, JavaScript and stuff like that. And I'm not talking about any server side. I'm just talking about static files like the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. We put at some CDN or something like that, and we serve it to our customers. Only about that. So when I'm talking about JavaScript apps, because I had this question before, so this is the definition. So why building JavaScript applications? So we develop stuff, right? Okay, and then we want to share it with our clients so they can enjoy it too. Okay, awesome. So we just copy it to our servers, right? We write some JavaScript and copy via FTP, right, to our servers, right? Wrong, because it's JavaScript and we don't really need to touch anything, right? Wrong. Okay. We don't do it. Why? Wait, this joke didn't come off as well. Let me see. Okay, it will be in the video. You don't hear it now, but it will be in the video. Okay. Forget about this. Just. Oh, so. Okay, awesome. Cool. Okay. So issues with current client-side JavaScript apps. What are the issues? So we have mainly 4 problems with why not just copying to the via FTP. So nowadays we do compile, right? We have stuff that are not just JavaScript. So the current version of JavaScript is called ECMAScript 5. But we have today ECMAScript 6. And not all of the browser can support it. So we have tools that transpiles our code from 6 to 5. So this is ECMAScript 6. We have also tools for CSS. Because CSS as is, it's much harder to write than using a tool like Sass or Lass and stuff like that. So we need to also compile it to CSS. We also have CoffeeScript, if you guys know it, which also a higher level language above JavaScript. And we have TypeScript, right? So recently, by the way, TypeScript was given a big push in the last ngConf, and the next version of Angular, which is I think the most popular framework to develop JavaScript, will going to be written in TypeScript. So we need to transpile it, compile it, or however you call it, to JavaScript. So this is the main issue, okay, for today. So we can't just copy our source code. The next problem or issue, we have a HTTP request overhead. What do I mean by that? So for every script tag that we put in our HTML, we have a latency of, or delay of 20 to 100 milliseconds. So and it doesn't matter the file size. So try loading lots of scripts, like 200 scripts in one HTML file, and of 1 kilobyte each, and you will see that it doesn't really matter. You will like wait forever. You can go to Thailand, come back, and it will still be loading, right? Wow, it is really hot here, right? So let's all take our shirts off now. Not just now. Okay, we'll wait. So back to the problem. So we have these issues that we can't really, and in large-scale applications, we have lots of files, right? So we have, it's not like one file like in the old days that we write all of our coding. So this is another issue. So the third issue is the bigger the file, ready for this? This is really super important. The bigger the file is, the longer the download. Captain Obvious. Okay. Yeah, okay. This guy is stupid. So this is another issue, right? We have big files, it takes longer to download them. And downloading the same file twice, we're not using the browser cache. And it's really important to use it these days because we have mobile application and we have lots of stuff and we want our apps to be performant. So why should we care? Because performance matters, like I said. You don't want to make your clients wait, right? You don't want to lose your clients, okay? So, yeah. So we need to massage our files, right? So what is massaging our files mean? We have roughly 4 steps we need to do. We need to compile. So like I said before, compiling just transforming the new syntax into the old syntax so the old browser can render it. We have the concatenation phase where we take lots of files and we concat them into one file. We have the MINIFY stage, or uglify if you heard of this weird word, which is compressing our files. We take the full source code and we compress it. And we have the revisioning stage, okay, which is optimizing for caching. We will see every stage now, so don't worry about it. Okay, so let's talk about the problems and the matching solution for each problem. So the first problem we talked about is that we need to compile our file. Again, ready for this? The solution is to compile. Captain Obvious, yeah, okay. So the second problem, more requests, slower load time, right? If we put 200 files, so the solution is to concatenate our files to 1 or 2 files that will have only 2 downloads instead of 200. The third problem we talked about is the bigger the file, you can remember Captain Obvious and stuff like that. So the solution is to minify, to compress it. Okay, if we take it will be a smaller file, shorter download. It's like really smart stuff that I'm saying here. So this is an example of how minify looks. If we take a really simple function in JavaScript, add 2 numbers, return the sum of them, right? So if after minifying it, what minify does is it takes the function name and the parameter names and we just replace it with 1-letter words, like 1-letter variable names. So the end result looks like this. So it actually reduces the size of the file, okay, because it's less strings to store. And so like a JavaScript file of 100K could potentially be like 20K. So it's like a made up example. Don't take my word for it, but yeah, you get the point. And the fourth problem, don't download the same file twice. We use the revisioning. So this is like, so we have here an example. So before we revision our file, revisioning basically means that we have a tool that's like take the content of the file and do a hash of it, and the string of the hash, it adds it to the file name. So the result looks like this. The hash of the content, and we do a rename of the file. So that way, we have the version by the content and not by date or timestamp or like method like we used to do. Okay, this is a more accurate way. And why doing it like this? Because later the like the index HTML will refer to the latest version of this file. So if the content of the file didn't change, we won't load them again, okay? Because it will already be in the browser cache. So let's talk about a JavaScript app in general, right? What's like how a JavaScript app looks like. Let me just like losing a lot of fluid now because of all this heat. Okay. Feel free to take off your shirts. I don't mind. Okay. So JavaScript app. Okay. We have roughly five parts. We have the index HTML or the main HTML that you load the initial scripts in. We have the JavaScript, CSS. And for those of you don't know, okay, JavaScript is the logic, CSS is all the stylings, and we have templates, which are other HTML files, right? But for smaller parts of the application. So these are called templates, and we have our assets, which is video, audio, images, icons, and stuff like that. So these are the five parts, roughly. So the dependency on like which points to which is that we have like index.html usually loads the JavaScript and the CSS tags. And the JavaScript usually loads the templates, the other smaller HTML. And from the CSS and the templates, we usually load the assets, okay? So in CSS, we can like tell it to load the background image, and the templates will load the video asset and stuff like that. So this usually is the dependency tree. Okay. So now this is like for those of you who want to think of your JavaScript application or your client-side application in terms of what do you need to do in your build process. Okay, this is like a chart that describes what you need to do, and I will go over it. So the most simple part is the assets, because we don't compile them, we don't concatenate them, right? We just compress them or minify them, okay? So we take like images and make them smaller, optimized, like if we do in Photoshop, like Save for Web, okay? It's like that, but in script. And we do a revision, so we don't want to load the same background image twice, okay? Maybe it's big and stuff like that. For the templates, it really depends which framework you're using, but so personally, I don't like compile my templates, but I know other, like because I'm using Angular, I usually concatenate them using like a plugin, like so I take all the HTML files and basically transform them to a giant JavaScript file, okay? And then that file is cached and I don't need to worry about. But you have companies that don't do it, okay? So it's a question, optional. But I do minify them, like I compress the HTML itself, and I also revision, it's optional because depending on what you did before. So CSS, depending also if you're using SAS or less, the tools I mentioned before, you need to compile them. But if you're not, you don't need to. But you do must concatenate them to one file, minify and revision it. The same goes for JavaScript. If you're just using plain JavaScript like ECMAScript 5, don't need to worry about compile. But if not, TypeScript, you get the point. And index.html. So index.html is usually what I do with it is minified. Okay, so I compress like its content, but it's like I don't revision it because it's the one file you don't want to cache because it has all the pointers for the other files, right? So you want to load it again and again and again and again so you don't have the problem of clients calling you, whoa, I see the same bug again, and, in the middle of the night and stuff like that. So yeah, this is like that. So let's zoom out for a second, okay? Let's talk about like, why are you smiling? Let's talk about like the entire build process. How is the build process look like? So the build process, like when we run the build script, the first part is to test our code, okay? I'm talking now not about specifically about unit tests, but although it's part of the process, but I'm talking about stop if anything breaks. So this is the part when we run our unit test or JS hint or lint or every tool that can check the integrity of our code, because we don't want to compile because it takes time and stuff like that if something is wrong with our code. So this is the first stage at our build script or build process. The second one is preparing our code. So usually when we build JavaScript apps, we have like the first directory, the source directory, and we have the distribution directory or artifact or however you want to call it. Okay, the stuff we put in the in the production server, right? The directory. So we need to clean it. We need to wipe it. Okay, and this is the part when you do all the like setups before the actual compile and minify and stuff like that. So generate, what generate means. So you have a lot of tools that saves you time. Like you can generate all the script tags. Like I told you, we have like 200 script tags. You can auto generate them in your index.html. You don't have to manually add it, okay? If it's something new for some of you guys, you can thank me later. I will talk about it later, okay? And you configure all your variables for your build script. So if you have like, I'm in the development environment or I'm in the production or whatever, okay? So this is the stage. Then you need to massage your files. We already talked about it. And lastly, we need to rewire. So this is the part I told you before. We have the uncached index.html. And in this point, we just replace the pointers, okay? So it's part of, we will see in the tool where it knows like all of the names, the revision names, okay, of the file, and know how to replace them automatically, okay, in our index.html. Awesome. Okay, so the final package of our JavaScript application should look roughly like this. It's really a simplified version. So this is the dist, okay, distribution folder that we take and copy to our server. Usually, if you're using tools like Yeoman or stuff like that, that we'll talk about later, usually this is the convention name, but you can name it whatever you want. So let's start from the assets. So like the assets, you have the images and videos and audio and stuff like that. You'll get like a revision file name and all other assets. In the script, you will get roughly 2 files. I'm using like 2 files most of the time. One for my source code or my company's source code, and the other one is for like the third-party libraries that I'm using. Anyone can guess why? I'm sure you can, but you are shy. Or I'm sure. That's right, that's correct, sir. You get a sticker to the to your laptop, okay? Come to me afterwards. Don't know if you like it, it's for Angular and stuff, but yeah. So that's correct. The third-party code that we're using changes less often than our source code, and we don't want our clients to download a big file, right? Every time we change our source code, so it will download all the frameworks and jQuery and stuff like that. Okay, so we divide it to 2 files. The same thing goes for our styles. Okay, usually like if we're using tools like Bootstrap, we also have third-party CSS. That don't change that often. And templates, so if you're using my method of like concatenating to JavaScript and stuff like that, you don't really need to worry about the templates, but if you're not, you will have like a template folder that you load all your stuff from there. And finally, we have the uncached index.html. So if you look at it, this is usually like the end result should look like. You have more files here like Fevico or like, I don't know, every like server have its HTXs and stuff like that. But in terms of the JavaScript application, roughly it should look like this. Okay, let's further zoom out. Okay. So let's talk about the deployment process. general. This might like look familiar to like in a company perspective, okay? So when we develop stuff, usually we're using like some sort of a version control system, right? So we push our code to the main repository, okay? Who uses like version control here? Okay, even the guys who don't use, they raise their hands, so they want. Okay, cool. So we push our code to the main repository. So in that stage, usually in big companies, we have a continuous integration server, build server, that catches like the notification that something has changed and start the build process, they compile and do unit tests and integration tests and stuff like that, okay? So tools like Jenkins or other tools, Travis CI and stuff like that, but usually it's an automatic like process. And then we have a deploy script that if everything have worked well with the CI server, it takes our code and deploy to the production server. Right so far? Okay. We're talking now, like when we're talking about building JavaScript apps, we're talking about the middle part, right? So our script that we're building, it's not for our development process, although part of it could serve us in the development process. Usually, when we're talking about production already JavaScript, we're talking about the script that goes to the CI server. So this is so when we're talking about like CI server, I get like a question that I get asked a lot is, okay, now we'll talk about, so these tools are written in Node.js. So if we want to use these tools, do we need to also install on our production server Node.js and start using Node.js as our server-side language and stuff like that? And I'm telling yes, no. I'm telling them no, okay, because it doesn't have to, like, it doesn't relates to your server. We're talking about JavaScript client side, so you can just talk with any server side you want. But on your CI server, if you're using the tools we're going to talk about, you need to install only Node.js, okay? And then you can run these scripts. Cool, like Jenkins, you need to install JavaScript. So let's zoom back in. Okay, awesome. So we talked about the application wide, let's zoom back in. So this is the final package that we talked about before, right? We have like the scripts and styles and templates and index and assets. Great. We used to do it manually, right? We used to do it, copy it or compile it or minify it or run every time we need to fix something and stuff like that. But now we don't need to anymore, okay? Because we have automatic tools. And this is the main reason I want us to get together today. So we have a tool called Grunt, okay, that we're going to talk about its API and stuff like that. But it's important to mention we have another tool called Gulp, okay, and we have another tool which isn't a build tool but contains the best practices of Grunt and Gulp and stuff like that, which it's called Yeoman. Don't worry about the gibberish that I'm talking now, okay? We'll talk about each project separately. Awesome. Okay, so first I explained that we're using Node.js. So for guys who don't know about Node or how the layering system, this is also a question I get asked a lot. So I prepared like a chart. Okay, so on the bottom level, okay, on the lower level, we have Node. So Node is a dependency for every tool of the three tools or that you can choose from that you need to have. So you have Node as a dependency. What is Node? Node is a runtime environment for server-side JavaScript, okay? So we can, basically it means that we can communicate with other servers or like networking, and we can manipulate the file system, okay? Which is very cool. So if you know JavaScript, and JavaScript usually is an easy, it was designed to be like an easy, like a language for web designers and stuff like that, okay? It's more powerful than that, but it was designed, I think, in 3 weeks, something crazy like that, okay? So it's really easy to write server-side scripts using JavaScript. So that's why it got, I think, one of the most popular languages today. So this is Node.js, okay? Just the runtime environment. It is using also, I think, V8, the engine of Chrome. And on top of that, so we have the Node Package Manager, the NPM. So this is like the tool that we can install Node modules or apps or packages and stuff like that that we want to use their API. So it's it depended on Node because it's written in JavaScript, okay? So we need to have Node and NPM installed. And once we have this set up, all we need to do is install these packages. So you will see how easy it is to install these packages, okay? We just npm install Grunt, and we have Grunt, okay? That's it. So these are the dependencies. So I hope it removes a lot of fear people have from like, oh no, I need to install Chrome and I don't know everything because it's JavaScript and like I need to use Windows. No, you don't have to use Windows. Okay, it's a Microsoft crowd. No, oh, you don't have to use Linux. Okay, cool. So everything in npm is a plugin or a package, right? So even the extendable Grunt plugins or the Gal plugins or the Yeoman generated that we'll see is also an npm package. So it's easy to extend our functionality. So the benefits of using node-based build tools and compared to like build tools that we have. So if you're using WebStorm, who uses WebStorm here? The code editor or IntelliJ? Okay, no? Microsoft crowd? Okay, no? Okay. Visual Studio? Yay, okay. No to myself, not to make fun of Microsoft. Okay, so so if you're using Visual Studio, I think I'm not a Visual Studio guy, but I think you have like bundling mechanism, right? And you have all the stuff there. So why using a node-based like build tool, right? So first of all, it's cross IDE editor, okay? You're not tied to one tool, okay? And also environments, right? You can work on any environment you want. And your CI server, in terms of your client-side build script, have only one dependency, which is Node, right? Okay, Node, okay? Okay. You remember your guy's name? The name you've heard? Say your name again. Say your name again to each other. Please, quickly. Okay, I'm Shai. Okay, so your name, just remember. Okay, I want you guys, okay, on the count of 3, don't be shy, don't be shy. I want on the count of 3, all in the same time, yell the name you've heard, okay? Right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, awesome, great. So, yeah.
So can I ask a question?
Yeah, cool.
So normally you'd have the CI server just talking straight to your source control and just getting plugins for doing all this kind of stuff. So you've got a separate node server. So is that? Can you just explain why?
So the question was, normally you have like a CI server talking straight to the version control system, have like plugin, but
manager, whatever, you know. So this is an extra.
Yeah. So it really depends on what like architecture you're using or what tools you're already using. If you have, I think that if you have like a set of tools that works good for you, okay, that can, like you can compile everything that I just talked about, really easy setup and stuff like that, just use that. But, so this is another benefit that I didn't put here is that it is all, you will see, it's all written in JavaScript. So you have developers on your team that already know JavaScript that can like manipulate the build script and stuff like that using JavaScript and not some proprietary tool or like a hard dependency on some other tool. But like I said, if you have something that works for you, you can use that. You don't have to use this. This also have gazillion. Did it answer your question? Or?
I just wondered why Jenkins or TeamCity or whatever.
So Jenkins.
Why they don't
so Jenkins have
get
plugins.
Functionality, why they don't get the JavaScript script compilers, etc. Like Groovy and other scripts.
So basically, what you normally do is you use like a, I don't know, Maven plugin or Jenkins script that just run like the Grunt or Gulp or something like that, and get the end result, and continue from there. And you do that for, I think, all other like script like compile technologies. I don't know, because I'm mainly focusing on JavaScript, but you have like a plugin that does that. So it's not different from the other like workflow that you're used to. So you have a plugin that this is another build step in your whole build step, that take the artifact and plant it somewhere. You do this when you want to be able to manipulate your build script in JavaScript, okay? If you don't, if you have a build script that works good for you in other languages, okay, you don't need this like added build step and stuff like that. It's okay? Did it answer your question? No?
I think so, yeah.
Okay, I think so.
Okay.
Okay, maybe I will use, this is nice. Oh, I don't know. If you have like any second thoughts, just tell me, okay. And we have gazillions of plugins, because Node's very popular and it's on GitHub, and you have like plugin for any kind of task you're using. If tomorrow you want to decide that you want to use a new technology, it like one day after it will have a plugin for it. Okay, you don't have to wait for some company, because you have the open source community doing all the work for you guys, which is awesome. So let's talk about Grunt. Grunt. Grunt is, like I said, a popular open source task runner. Okay, so what it does is run tests. This is all it does. So we configure tasks and it runs them. Its goal is mostly to transform files. So this is what we do. Okay, we compile and minify and concat, and this is what we want to do, mostly to transform files. It can do other stuff like I don't know, serve us file, like open like a temporary node server and serve the files to us and stuff like that. And it's good for development like process, but mostly to transform files. So, and it's configuration based. So what does it mean? You have tasks and you configure them. Okay, you don't have to write code that does stuff. Okay, you just configure everything, and that's it. So good news, like I said before, if you already know JavaScript, you already know how to write Grunt. Okay, this is good news for JavaScript developers. So before we continue, okay, yeah, I wanted to. Yeah, this is like another like thing. This is a new thing I'm trying, so I need your full cooperation again, okay? Anyone watch like WWF when he grew up, or WWE? Okay, here? Okay. Half of you, which is it is a large room. Everyone can hear me. Okay, half of the room knows what so WWF is like wrestling, okay, with all that. So what I want to do now to try, I want to run, like they used to run through all the people and getting high five and stuff, okay? Right, so I want to try it for just a short moment. So I want you to get up, okay? You remember the stuff we did? I want you be like this high level, okay? So get up, mostly like all the people in the middle. Who have a favorite WWF here? Okay, you don't have? Who watch WWF? Okay, You guys, you sir, just tell me, like answer me with Ultimate Warrior. What's your favorite WWF?
What my favorite WWF?
Yeah.
Probably The Rock.
The Rock, okay. Ultimate Warrior, nice, okay. So it happened to be that I have the Ultimate Warrior theme song, okay. Okay. You don't hear it from this, you hear it from my laptop. So imagine the Ultimate, okay, so I'm going to run from there, okay, I want you all to be like, ready? Like this high level energy, so let's start clapping and yelling and stuff like that. Now, okay. Yeah. Okay, you can sit down, okay. Awesome. So it's a long talk, right? You need to like do stuff like this. So yeah, thank you for participating in my experiment. It was fun. I will try it next time in like a 1,000 people room. We'll see how it goes. Maybe I'll get like knockout or something from someone. Okay. Okay. So WWF time. This was the WWF time. Okay. And cool. So let's get back to Grunt. Awesome. So how do we set up Grunt? Okay. We use the npm, the node package manager, on our command line. So when we have it installed, we just write npm install. So -g is for global packages. What do I mean by global? So from every directory in your file system, you can access it. Okay, like a path variable. Okay, so this you use -g for global, and then the package name. So Grunt CLI. Why CLI? Okay, Grunt usually is divided to two parts: the core and the CLI. So the CLI doesn't change that often. Okay, just run the command line. Okay, but the core changes repeatedly. Okay, or more often. So so they divided it. So we need to install globally only the Grunt CLI, and that's it. And in every project, we will install the Grunt core by its own version. So if we have multiple projects, we have different versions of Grunt. And the components to run Grunt is the Grunt file, which is the configuration file. Because it's configuration based, we need a configuration file. So this is the file that we are configuring all the tasks that we want to run. And the other file, which is not related strictly to Grunt, but it's more like related to npm and node, is the package.json. Okay, so package.json, like I said, everything dependent on node. So package.json is just a file, a JSON file that we describe all the packages that we want to have and all their versions. You probably know it from other tools that do the same thing. So we will see how it looks like, but this is where we put our version of the Grunt core and which Grunt plugins. What are Grunt plugins? Like if you want to concatenate, so we have a Grunt plugin for concatenation, and we describe it here. So these are the components that we need to have. It's really simple. So the Grunt API in terms like in simplified like terms that what you want to do with Grunt. Okay. So Grunt, we need to load tasks. Okay. We need to configure them once we load them to the context. Okay. So when we run our Grunt command, we just need to load everything in context, and then we can use stuff. Okay. Like imports. Okay. And we configure the task, and then we run the task. Simple, right? It's not that hard. So how do we load tasks? Okay, we have a simple command. So when we are using Grunt, we have the Grunt variable, which has all the API we need, and the API isn't that complicated. We'll like few commands, but this is the command to load npm task. Okay, so and then we state what the task name that we want to load. So load npm task. What does it do? It goes to the package.json. Okay, and it reads the file. Once you install, like npm install your packages, you get a node modules directory, okay, which are all the other source code that you need. So it looks for the task name there, and it just load to the context the sources from there. So this is what it does. So when you are like wanting to load more tasks to your context, this is what you use. If you don't know this command, okay, because this one is manually, and this one loads automatically. It reads your package.json file and it searches for names that start with Grunt dash, which usually is the convention for a Grunt plugin. Okay, so what it does require just a way to require this plugin, which this is also a plugin, right? That gets the Grunt as a parameter and just automatically loads all of the tasks for you. So you not just need to stay them in one file and that's it. You don't have to manually load them. Cool? Any question? Yeah.
Sorry, what do you run that for? Is that right? You write a script and
yeah, we will get to it. We will see, like, I'm just describing it and you will see it in action now. So just be familiar with, like, it won't be a bunch of gibberish once you get to the file, right? Okay. Maybe it will be, right? But yeah, anyway. So then we configure the task. Once we load them into our context, we need to configure it. So we have the Grunt variable, right? There's another method called initconfig, which get a JavaScript object, okay? Like it's really, JavaScript object really similar to JSON, right? So here you have like a simplified version of a configuration of a task. So we have the copy test, which the copy test just copies files from one destination to another destination, one source to the destination. So we have the copy task. And look that the convention is the first level parameters of our JavaScript objects is the actual same name of our task name, okay? How do you know if you're using the right name? You go to the package.json and see the name there, okay? Okay, I will show you that it's the package.json of the actual test, not the package.json of our project. But nah, don't worry about it. Okay, it's the name. When you look at GitHub, okay, of the test that you want to use, it will show you what you need to write. So don't worry about the package.json stuff like that. Okay. The second level, it's called, you have options, which is like for configuring all of your other configurations. But this one is like a custom name that I chose, okay? It's called the target. Okay, what are targets? Targets are different configuration for the same task. So this is a task, and this is a target, okay? So we can have multiple targets for the same task. So the task is the action that we copy, okay? It knows how to copy, but it needs to know from where to where. So we can have multiple targets, okay? Targets, you can think of them as configuration, okay? So these are targets. This is how we configure tasks in Grunt. That's it. And then we run them, right? So this is the command line, and this is how we run our test. Just on the command line, use Grunt, space, task name, colon, target name, if we want a specific target. If we leave out the colon and the target name, it will run all of our targets one by one, by their order, okay? And the options that we saw before is for all of the targets, okay? So we can like put default like configurations for, so we don't have to repeat ourselves. Okay, this is how we run the task and its like specific configuration. You can also create your own custom tasks that run other tasks, like set of tasks or array of tasks in sequence, okay? So this is a cool way to make your build script more readable, okay? So you have, like, you know, when you want to make your code more readable, you divide it into smaller functions. So this way you can divide it into smaller tasks that have meaningful names, okay? And not like, if you don't like the name the author of the package gave it, you can rename it like this, okay? But you can use this tool for a bunch of different stuff. I use it to make my code more readable, my Grunt file more readable, okay? So you just give it your own name that you want to later like use in the command line, and then you give it an array. This is the one way to configure it. You have like other ways, but this is the simplest. So you give it an array of strings that states like the test name and target name, or just test name, and so on and so on. So, and then you can run it on the command line with the same name you gave it here. Let's see some code. Okay, finally. Now I will become a really small person, and yeah. Whoa, okay. What? Tell me, yeah. Okay, so something is wrong. Okay. This is WebStorm. Normally don't look like this. It have like you know, stuff up here, but something is, can I say fucked up? Nah, you can delete it in the edit. Okay, so something is fucked up in the in the WebStorm, but we see our code, so this is the most important thing. So we all see. Maybe I can get like a little bit bigger, but it's a small room. Can you all see the code? Cool. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Polite. Okay. Cool. So what we are looking here on here, we see all the stuff. So this is like a regular way you define like a node package or node script. So don't worry about it. But here we get the Grunt as a dependency. Here it should look familiar now, right? We require, this is how we load the package, load Grunt task, and this is automatically load all of our tests into context. We have the init config that gets the JavaScript object. And then, what is it? Gil, don't help. You know this material already. Okay, this is task, correct. And what is this? But you're let other like no, just kidding. Thanks. This is the target. Okay, great. Target. Okay, cool. Everybody is asleep, right? Anybody? All of the 700 people. Are you good back there? Okay, cool. So this is the task and this is the target, right? So this is the copy test. It's actually a real task, okay? I didn't make it up, and I just configured it to run one file. If you're, by the way, let me like show you the package JSON that I showed you before. So this is the package JSON, just package JSON, just a JSON that describes all of our packages that we need to load. So the dev dependency is just the property to describe the packages. And here you see the package name and the semver, the semantic versioning of it. Okay, so here we load the Grunt tasks who load Grunt tasks. Okay, it's like recursion, stuff like that. And here we are loading our copy test. So you see it starts with Grunt dash. That way this task know how to load it, and we have the name. Contrib is usually a reserved word for plugins that are developed by the core team or something like that. Okay, so this is the package JSON. Okay, we have a. If we look at this, I know I can make it really bigger, but I will describe. So here we have like a source directory with like just some file, another file, a Grunt file, package JSON, and that's it. This is our application, right? really simplified application, just so you'll get the point of Grunt, because usually people encounter a Grunt file when they have like a big application and they look at it and they go like, what the? Okay, so I tried to make it more simple. So we have the source, okay, and this is the node modules directory. Once you do, okay, like npm install, okay, you see this, or I can make it bigger, okay. Once I do npm install without the typo, okay, what it does, it creates the node modules directory, and this is all the source by the same name that we defined, like grunt contrib copy, and load grunt test. Okay, and it knows how to load them from there. Great, this is all we need to know about this. So let's get back to our Grunt file. We have the copy task, and we have the one file target. Okay, so here we're just configuring it. This is the API of this task, okay? If you're using other tasks, you need to go to the GitHub documentation of that task and read how you configure that task. But usually, Grunt, like I told you, works with files, so you need to know the file like API. So we just telling you which directory to copy from, which files to copy from that directory, and which directory to copy it to. And this is only God knows what this like expand means. No, it just basically, you don't have to worry about it, but it just means that you can use the other API or something like that. Okay, but this is the configuration, right? So let's try to run it. So we load right in here. We load the task because it automatically gets loaded. We configured the task and the target, and now we need to run it. So any guesses what do we need to do if I want to run this task and this target? Anyone?
You need to load it first.
Need to load it. So it happened to be that the script, when I run the grunt command, it already runs all the script, and it encountered this line, and it load the copy, okay, to the context. So I already installed, okay, Grunt CLI. So whoa, okay, no, don't worry about it. So I can use the Grunt command. Okay, this is what it gave him, and I can just tell him the task name. Okay, copy, add a colon, and one file, give it the target. So what happens here? When I run the Grunt task, it looks first of all for the Grunt core, okay, and we already installed it, so it finds it. Second, it looks for the Grunt file, okay, and then he knows what to look, where to look for, and then it reads the task name and it looks for it in our Grunt file, and it finds it. Okay, if it wouldn't find it, it will throw an error, and then it looks for the target name. So let's run it. I'm in the right directory. Last time I did this talk, it all went to hell. Okay, so yay, it copied one file, okay, and then we'll see it here in a dist folder, and it just copied to here. So we see without errors. Nice. Okay, so yeah, so we see the grunt command just copy one file to, yeah, not that sophisticated, right? So let's, yeah.
We didn't need to actually create the dist folder.
No, it created automatically. Okay, the copy task automatically creates the directory if it doesn't exist.
And if it already exists, does it override it?
Override, yeah, override it. Okay, so this is what we did, just copy one file. If we want to add another target, like, okay, we can just duplicate this code and we can add another file. Okay, we need to have a different name, and we just copy the other file, another file. So, okay, now you know how to run the second target. Okay, I know you all know, but you are shy and don't want to participate. So I will pretend that you said another file. Okay, what will happen? It will copy without errors. Yes, the other file. Cool, awesome. So we have two files. Now, if we leave out, okay, the target name, it will run all the targets. So if we leave, we see that it copied one file and then another file. Okay, I don't know if you see here. I will try to see it like here. Okay, it copied two files. And just like as an example of if we want like to manipulate our files, like so we can copy all files, okay, and just leave it with asterisks. And if we now run all file targets, and now instead of a file name, I just gave it like a star. Oh, yeah, nice. So all files in all files. Okay, yeah. You know, this is what I was talking about, the jinx of Grunt demos. So all files, run it, and this is because I was cooking the first two times, right? So yeah, so it copied two files at once. So this is just a simple example of how you define a task and define its targets. Questions so far? No. Yes? No. Yes. Yes, too. I saw your face. I knew that you want to ask. Yeah.
When you showed the syntax of this, you had an options for the task.
Yeah.
That's obviously optional. So
That's optional. Yeah. So you have like options that you can add here. Some of the tasks have like options that will be repeated, okay, in all of the targets. Like you have a compile task of some sort, like a compass or SAS or something like that.
Yeah.
And you can just, in the options, you can just give it like a output directory or something like that, that all of the targets will use that by default. So this is the options. Okay? Another question?
With the load grunt task module, is there any reason, like, not to do it? So why do they have npm load?
So
Like,
they
why
started really simple, like every other application. You start really simple and then you add stuff. So they started with like the basic, like, you know, like do this command, ta 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 ta. And then they thought, well, we have a for loop in JavaScript, right? So they added this, like, it's a community that like they keep adding more like simple stuff like as a plugin. So they just added it because they saw that they need to repeatedly write the load npm task. Okay, this is the main reason behind it. Any other question before we continue?
What if
Yeah.
What if you just ran grunt with nothing?
Just grunt?
Yeah, if you just type grunt.
Okay, so good question. If we run grunt with nothing, it will look for a task that is called a default task. Okay, if you define like an alias task and give it the name default, it will look for that task and whatever you wrote inside it, like which is the default task. So if you run grunt, it will look for a grunt file and the default task. If you don't find it, let's see what happened. So yeah, task default not found, right? So this is what happened. Also, if you remove all of the targets, okay, so let's say we have like an empty task, okay, and we try to run it, it will also throw an error, task copy failed, no copy targets found, okay? You need to have at least one target, okay, for it to know what to do with the copy, because copy is just copy. You don't know from where to where, okay? Cool? Awesome. Anyone? Okay. Coolness. So, yeah, I think it's it for now. And yeah, so this was fun, right? Okay? This was a fun time. Let's talk a bit about gulp. So I mentioned that there is another tool called gulp. What's gulp? And maybe you've heard this. Who heard of gulp? Okay, so so gulp is another Node.js based tool, okay, which basically trying to solve the same problem. Want to automate our build and development process. And main features of it, so it uses a thing in Node called streams. So difference between Grunt usually when you run a task, it loads the file from the file system, it manipulates it and writes it to the file system back, and then the other task picks it up again and it makes it slower. So Gulp is using Node streams, so it continuously like write chunks of load chunks of the files and do manipulation and then write chunks of the files. So it's more like flowing and doesn't have to load everything every time. Okay, so it's faster. It prefers code over configuration. Okay, this is like the mantra behind it. Instead of Grunt, which is a configuration-based tool, they prefer code. They're saying, okay, we are developers, we need to write code and not configuration. Okay, it's a matter of preferences. So another thing is like they really value the single responsibility principle. Who heard of the single responsibility principle? Okay, in short, it's the principle that you every piece of code that you have need to have only one responsibility. So if we have a copy task, it don't need to know how to run a server. It doesn't need to know how to run a server and stuff like that. Just need to know how to copy files, right? So this is the single responsibility principle. So they really value it, and they really like follow it in every Gulp plugin. Okay, Gulp plugin isn't get accepted like formally if it has more than one responsibility, and they also prefer that you won't use any Gulp plugins at all because you can use Node plugins, right? If you want to copy stuff, you don't need a special Gulp plugin. You can just use the native Node copying capabilities, okay? So they really prefer that way. And it's a big community. So I first tried this tool like I think 10 months ago, okay, just playing with it, and the community wasn't that like big, and I didn't find a lot of solutions for stuff that I already had in Grunt. So I just thought to myself, okay, I will like give it more time. You know, when you give like a project like more time to become like bigger, and now last time I checked, it became really popular. Okay, and also a lot of open source projects use it for their own build script, and you have like a lot of solutions. So just now I'm restarting again to use it on some of my projects. I mainly use Grunt, but I'm starting to do it. So I'm giving you this slide for you to, as a service, right? For you to check both of the tools and see what method fits better for you. So Gulp versus Grunt in a short time. So Gulp requires extra Node knowledge. So you need to know more about Node.js to figure out when to use like this the pipe and when not to use it, which plugins are working it. You need to research like streams more and stuff like that to debug like stuff that don't work and stuff like that. And in Grunt, you don't need like that much extra knowledge. You need to know how to debug Grunt, but not as Gulp. And because Grunt is more declarative, right? You write the configuration and it does stuff. You don't need to actually know the commands and stuff like that. And Grunt is also very mature. So it's your it's your like choice to look at both projects and like decide what method that you guys prefer the most. Configuration over code, okay? This is goes down to that thing. And Gulp is faster, like I said, than Grunt. So, if you want to use also Gulp and Grunt, doesn't matter, but we're talking about, this talk is about Grunt. If you want to use Grunt, where do you start? So I showed you how to write the copy, right? But you want to build your JavaScript application. You have much more than just copying files. You start with a project called Yeoman, okay, which is an open source project that does scaffolding, okay? So you run a command line and it generates the whole file structure of your project, okay? This is like if you know Ruby on Rails, they have like a scaffolding system. It's pretty much the same. So, but in JavaScript, in Node, it's built on top of Node.js. So you have like in Yeoman, you have like in Grunt, you have plugins. In Yeoman, you have generators. So if I'm using Angular, because I write Angular applications, I want the Angular generator, okay, to generate a new Angular project. Okay, so I install via npm the same way, okay, like install the Angular generator, and I can just generate a new Angular project. It's customizable, so you can create your own generators. You can tweak stuff that you don't like and stuff like that. And the best thing about Yeoman is that a lot of smart people are maintaining this project, and they embedding all of the best practices from all over the web development world into their build scripts. So you get like the newest plugins that you don't need to search for yourself every time. And I usually every couple of months update the Yeoman generator, generate a new project, and look at the Grunt file and see what's changed. Okay, just like as a practice that I do to keep up to date with stuff. And I have my own set of plugins that I use unrelated. So how do we install Yeoman? Okay, we just npm install -g like before. Yo. Okay, this is how you install Yeoman. Okay, anyone heard about Yeoman before? Cool, same guys. I'm guessing you're JavaScript developers. I don't know why. I don't. Okay, cool. Then, like I said before, we need to install generator. So if I want to install the Angular generator, it's the same thing. I'm just installing generator-Angular. And then to generate my project, I'm using yo Angular. That's it. It will ask me a bunch of questions. Do you want Bootstrap? Do you want Sass? Do you want everything like this plugin or that plugin and stuff like that? And then it will generate the file, and it will automatically install the npm install all the plugins that we need in our Grunt file, and all the third-party libraries that we need, like Angular and stuff like that, using another cool tool called Bower. Okay, so let's look at it for just a quick moment. So I have here another project. This is more like an application. Don't worry about it. You don't see that good. I just explain it. So what I did is I went to this project, okay, and I just generated. I just did yo Angular, okay. And when I ran yo Angular, it started asking me questions. Do you want Compass? Okay. Do you want Bootstrap? Okay. Do you want Sass? Okay. And now you can choose the packages you want. I won't go through with it because I already did it, and this is the result. So it generated this file structure, okay, with all the Bower components and node modules that I need, and the source code in the app directory. And it generated a Grunt file. So let's look at the Grunt file. So looks familiar. It's the same thing, okay? Load Grunt task, okay? This is for just measuring the time for performance-wise, and this is like configuration of variables, doesn't matter, but it's the same thing. Grunt init config gets a JavaScript object. The first parameters you can have here, like normal parameters, which aren't tasks. So this is just a configuration parameter, but the other ones, the watch and connect, and I minimize all the code so you won't be like freaked out, okay? But these are all the tests that we need to have when we build our applications, okay? So we have this is a compile like SAS code to CSS, and this does the revisioning, the hash to the file names and stuff like that. So I opened one task that you should be familiar with, which is a copy task, and here, okay, how many targets we have here? Okay, I will do it like smaller. We have here, this is the whole task, okay? We have here, if I will minimize them, 2 targets, this and styles, right? And I just made, so it just made the name. I can rename it whatever I want. And if we look inside it, we see the same, like, okay, we have the destination and we have the source, what to copy and blah, 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 okay? But this is like an example. But if I would like, I don't know if I can, okay? If I would like open everything, and you will see that it's a lot of stuff. I won't open everything, but it can be like, whoa, okay, what is happening now? Okay, so what I want you to notice is that you have here the default task, like I told you before, and you have 2 tasks, build, and I will show you guys in a second. Don't worry about the zoom, and serve. Okay, so we'll talk about it. So as you see, when you stare at it for the first time, okay, you're like, whoa, someone obviously divided by 0, right? Because it's a bunch of like 400 lines of code, and it's like not that much. So you have more. If you want to really properly build you need to add more stuff to it. So it can be like 600 lines, I don't know. So it can be scary, okay? But I want you like to remember two main tasks when you generate it, okay? The first one is Grunt serve, I showed you, okay? This you use for development. So in development, we don't need the MINIFY and we don't need the concatenation and stuff like that, but we do need the compile. And we do need like an auto watcher, like if some file changes, it can refresh our browser and stuff like that. So you use Grunt serve, it open a bunch of plugins, one that watches your files, and the other one who know how to reload, how to refresh the browser, and to auto compile it once you change the file, and that way it saves a lot of time. So if you want to start developing now in newer APIs like ECMAScript 6, like I told you in the start, you can add like a transpiler or a compiler from ES6 to ES5, and it will auto generate the ES5 files, okay? Like compilation. So this you use for development. For production, you use the Grunt build, which do all the compilation, but all the other steps that we talked about already in the build theory. Cool. So few more tips, okay? We're getting near the end, so hang on, okay? So I know it's long. So make sure you divide your tasks, like I said before, into smaller ALIAS tasks, okay? That you could have like a more readable file. For debugging, if you're trying to use it and you want to debug, you can use, when you run Grunt and the test name, you can add minus verbose or minus v, big V, capital letter, and it will show you like more information about what's really failing in your task and stuff like that. Also, if something is failing for a broken build or something like that, you can just isolate it. People forget that you can just run an individual task, right? Not like because when they learn about it, they like if they didn't hear all the stuff that I just talked for an hour about, they think, okay, you have the Grunt build. If it doesn't work, I don't know. I will sit and drink coffee all day. Okay, so no, you can isolate. Okay, if the copy task doesn't work, just use Grunt copy and see what's failing, and it will save you all the compilation time and stuff like that. And another cool, I will talk tomorrow. I have 18 tips for the Angular architect or something like that talk. I will talk about this node, this Grunt plugin. Include source. So this is for auto-generating the script text, right? So we don't have to manually add them to the index HTML. So that's a good start. Okay, this talk was an introduction, but Yeoman's Grunt file, as I said, needs more modification to make it better. Okay, it can be scary to look at, and the best practices takes time to figure out. Okay, so it took me like a few months to get the hang of stuff and what's better, what not to use and stuff like that. And it's bigger than this lecture scope. So a shameless plug. If you want to see more stuff, you can join highres.io, and I put like free online videos. It's the craziest, I can assure you, it's the craziest online tutorials that you ever saw. Just go to the front page, you see in the bottom the first tutorial. Even if you don't know Angular, just watch it, and yeah, okay. And I will put here more like workshops and stuff like that. I'll also have like paid workshops and stuff like that. So depending on the subtopic. So what we've learned, why building JavaScript? Okay, build theory overview. We had like an overview. We talked about the Grunt API and Yeoman. We talked about Grunt versus Gulp. And one more thing. Just I want to leave you with this message. If you're gonna be lazy, okay, doing automatic like stuff, do it with style, okay? And use Grunt or Gulp or an automatic tool, and don't do it manually. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you. This was the session. And this is the link for the slides, okay? And if you have any questions, this is the time.
Quick question.
Yeah.
How we integrate with the CI service, so with TeamCity or with Jenkins. If we were doing it with Maven, we'd install Maven, we'd get.
So you have like a.
Just go to the next final step, not typing.
Yeah. So this talk was more about Grunt, but I'm not an expert on the build server tools and stuff like that. From my experience, like when I worked with a client on Jenkins, they installed like a Jenkins plugin for Grunt, okay? That know how to like npm install the dependencies and run the Grunt script and stuff like that. So just configure which task name you want to run, okay? And that's it. And it knows how to combine it into the, but it's more of a question of the CI server stuff, and I'm not an expert on like all the different tools that you have. Okay. Another one? Yeah.
Do you have experience integrating with Visual Studio?
I know because I'm not a Microsoft developer, but I think they have a plugin. I don't know. Yeah, they have.
2015 include Grunt and Gulp plugins, and you have extensions for Visual Studio 2013 that helps you to run Gulp and Grunt and Power if you want, not Yeoman already right now. If you want to use those tools, you have to use Max Christensen web extensions. So this is a must-have if you're developing web application in Visual Studio.
So this is Gil Fink and what he said. Okay, basically. Yeah, so you can, in 2015, just saying for the mic, for the video, 2015 Visual Studio, you will have like a support for Grunt and Gulp. And they have already a plugin in the 2013 for like extending Visual Studio with Grunt support, stuff like that. Any more questions? You want to go home? Okay. Okay. Yeah, go eat. Okay, thank you very much again. And yeah, if you have any questions, just come and ask me.